welcome to our new episode, and I'm so excited to actually do this one.
Life teaches you probably more lessons than you realize in many ways.
Having that hard conversation from the very beginning is very important.
You may have all the other things, but if you don't have capacity to show up in time, you may not be the right fit right now.
All right, welcome to our new episode, and I'm so excited to actually do this one with a very special guest that I have, because this is going to be an exciting conversation when it comes to businesses who are trying to elevate more, especially when it comes to collaboration. So our guest is an amazing woman that I know for quite some time already. So for over 2 decades, Holly has been building communities, like guiding leaders and working inside collaboration, from grassroots movement to corporate teams and national coalition. That's one thing that you have really been doing, and you've seen really why even most visionary partners or partnerships fall apart. And you have created this amazing framework that really helps businesses, not just because people don't care, but because they lack the shared language, clear expectation, and the tools to navigate tensions without damaging trust. Holly Hartman, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I love talking about anything that has to do with collaboration, business growth, scaling, all of that, and making an impact.
So one of the things that you have, right, out of that experience that you have, this is where Collab Code, a framework designed to help founders and leaders, came about. So tell us a little bit about how you came about to this framework that you have and what you're doing right now in helping businesses.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. I think life teaches you probably more lessons than you realize in many ways. And I've always been into personal development and professional development, a sponge for reading books and listening to leaders. But until you actually experience collaboration that does not work over and over again, that's where you start to learn, okay, you start to pivot. Well, that didn't work. Well, what would work? And how does that navigate? In addition to watching others go through that same experience. So Collab Code was a creation from all of my experiences and also from learning from others and learning through other books and coaches and consultants on what works for them and how does that impact businesses, and case studies that businesses are doing it well and then ones that failed miserably at it. What can we learn from that? And that is really what the framework is a collection of all of that, but curated in a way that makes sense for any level of expertise to go, oh, that makes sense. Where have you been all my life? How do we get this started? That's kind of the feedback I get once people start with it.
And one of the things that I really love about that, I can really see how you've mastered collaboration. I think it's the power that you bring in communities and different individuals into one space. Is that something that is just innate when you were younger? You're just like, come on, let's have a group, right? Tell me a little bit about that, because that's one thing I really admire about you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a collector of people, and I'm always fascinated by different personalities and how people work. I observe people in how they show up, in what their words say, and what their actions say, and do they match up? What are they good at? What do they struggle with? So I've always had a unique vantage point of just watching humans interact with one another. And this just shown up where in college, I was in my sorority, I was doing events and social planning and promotion. So I got integrated in that. Even before that, high school, part of the planning committees for multiple planning committees and bringing people together then, and led Bible studies at my church. And I've always been a community, like how do we find a connective tissue that brings people together? So now I run 6 groups with over 60,000 people in them. One's a hiking group, one's a women's empowerment group, another one was around racial equity, one for women business owners. And I'm pivoting from a lot of those groups now and transitioning to this is my main focus. I've learned so much from all different aspects, not just business, but from my hiking group and how do we collaborate together on a hike. Collaboration is in every fabric of anything that is community-based. Your home, it is a part of everything that we do. And so now I've created a framework and a structure and a language, because most people don't have the same language around it. And that's really what Collab Code is helping people learn Spanish, or the language of collaboration, so they can be more effective efficient, and equitable in the spaces that they serve, they lead, and even just be present with.
I love how you've actually mentioned about the different languages that come in, right? When you're trying to collaborate with someone, especially like in business. Because coming from somebody who's just so active of creating ideas, that's me. And then I try to find, okay, who's the best person that I can partner with, right? That can, okay, make this goal a little bit more faster and a little bit more clearer. And, when two personalities like, okay, this is one my goal, are we sharing the same language, right? Now, what do you think about collaboration when it comes to I think it's just like maybe a personal or maybe just a reflection in my end. Hey, you know how sometimes like, oh, I'm going to collaborate with this person because I know that can help me, right? Or, oh, that can make me faster. So there's like maybe a word selfish. I don't know if that's the right word. How do you address that one? Is that a wrong way of looking at collaboration? Like, what do I get from this right away? Or what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's not so much your first thought. Whatever your first thought, it is what it is. But how do you negotiate that within another partnership? So collaboration is a bringing together of people or ideas and making it come together. Now, if it's a one-sided experience, meaning somebody is only getting from it, then it's more of a employee benefit. The dynamic is not really truly a collaboration. However, we might have different wins. So in collaboration that are successful, generally both parties find a win. And what some people think is, well, if I put 100% or I put $1,000 into an event or whatever it is that they're trying to collaborate on, they expect 50-50 back. But if the only currency they put in is money, but then they have somebody else that has created the event, produced the event, got all the people there, showed up, did all the supplies, had the skill set, then the currency is actually being undervalued on one side of it if that's 50-50 because that money exchange may not actually be the true currency that is happening. So in my framework, I talk about collaboration currencies and how important that is to negotiate so you don't undervalue yourself in collaboration, so you can find win-win scenarios. And ultimately, it's not always apples to apples, money to money exchange. It could be exposure. It could be amplifying your network. It could be you're building your skill sets through it. There's ways that you can win that is not always a monetary exchange. And I really want to get that message out there so people can think differently in the way they collaborate and approach different experiences.
Yes, that is so true. Because sometimes I think that's where I started to understand, like, sweat equity, right? Yes. Like sometimes you don't have the monetary resources, but you know that you can if you XY amount my showing up is worth XY of dollars already because it gets the project moving. And that's very important. Now, would you say that in every collaboration, because for me right now, I'm using more of the word strategic partnership, right? It's a different term. Basically, it's just still a collaboration in a different way. Would you say that a contract in place from the very beginning of conversation is a very good way of putting things in place?
Yes, that's actually the collab structure. So the first part is you got to figure out, are you even aligned? Is the mission even aligned? You may have vastly different of opinion on what it is actually that you're even talking about. So one, you have to make sure you're aligned. Then you need to look at who owns what. What is the accountability in this? What part of this currency are you bringing to the table and committing to? So you need some of those things up front before you can even do an upfront contract. What does this entail? What is expected of me? How much time, talent, treasure, resources am I supposed to contribute to this collaboration? And once you have that, then you really make some contracts. Now, there are many contracts along the way. You can have an upfront contract and say, okay, I would like for you to come on my podcast. This is what we're going to talk about. This is the amount of time. Do you agree to be there without your phone? Like there are things that you can set some norms on that could be adjusted along the way. However, if you're going to go a long-term project with somebody, you really do need to delineate who's doing what, what's accountability look like, what's that communication cadence. And there's a whole 10-part framework, all the way down to what does the end look like? How do we navigate that if one of us wants out and the other one wants to stay? What does that partnership look like? Or what does that exit plan look like? And then celebration. Celebrate the win, or celebrate even if you only move the needle part of the way, but you moved and you made some progress on it, still celebrate that, but also wish the best for the next person in their collaboration. Because I don't think that, I mean, just much like some relationships, they're not always there for the full thing. You've got the season, a reason, and a lifetime. Sometimes collaborations are, you might say this would be a lifetime collaboration, but it might actually just be a season, and we have to learn how to navigate that. So there's a lot of facets to that structure.
And I think that's really true. It really just applies, just like in business as a as a service provider or what we do to other businesses, right? We use contract to put things in place, and there's going to be a clause that, hey, if something happens, how can we move forward? And I think being okay of having that hard conversation from the very beginning is very important, because it is a lot of energy and time and effort. And I think another thing that I've learned from you through our conversation is that it's okay to say no. Like, be kind enough to say no, right? With whether it is no longer working, or there's no longer, hey, I can no longer contribute, being fair to the partner that you are partnering in that collaboration as well, right? So now, how do you somehow differentiate a strategic collaborator and someone who's just networking with good intention, right? I mean, we've been in multiple networking events. I think you especially, everyone see Holly, right? They see you everywhere because you're really that. You are a community builder. You love to be doing that. But what are some things that what are your thoughts when it comes to that?
Well, part of the framework that I created is around collaboration styles. So everybody has a different collaboration style, and you may lean into one or the other a little bit more than. So I have the driver, the visionary, the architect, the creative catalyst, the disruptor. There's 8 different styles. Now, you may observe behavior and the way people show up, and you might be able to assess what their style might be. So, for instance, if you go to a room full of visionaries and you have this bright idea that you want executed quickly, they're probably not going to be the best strategic partners for you, but they might be great partners for brainstorming sessions. Like, can you come and ideate with me? But if you're expecting them to provide structure for that collaboration, they may struggle in that area. And so some of it is managing your expectations around what is their capability, what is their natural style. Like you said, I think there's a book, I think it's called Who Not How. And it is looking, that's where you look for those strategic partners of going, who does this and how does that look like, and how can they help me and support me? So if you're collecting all of the same of you may be missing the entire wheel that is required to move a collaboration. Now, we're multifaceted human beings, so you may not be just one specific thing, but you might have a couple different things, and depending on who's stronger in those areas. So it doesn't mean 2 drivers can't work together. It's not that, but you have to be really clear, because you might be butting heads and having more friction going, well, that's what I was going to do, or that's what my skill set. So you have to have just real clear boundaries on who owns what does that accountability look like, what does the decision look like. But when you're looking in a sea of networking, you really just have to ask those questions, because you can't just judge a book by what they're doing in that one thing. You have to ask those questions. What's your experience in XYZ, which is the thing you're trying to fill the gap for?
Yes, it's really is true, right? Because sometimes, like, we gravitate, of course, to the same person that who we are, but we're indeed missing a lot of those things. And I think this is a very good reminder as well when it comes to identifying either partners or anyone you want to hire within your company, especially when you're trying to scale or you're growing as well, that you need to make sure to be more aware of who you're collaborating with to make more efficiency, because at the end of the day, right, you're collaborating with other people or you're hiring other people is because to create more efficiency for faster and more successful goal that you have in your business. Now, when business grows so fast, just like in when it comes to sales, marketing, and customer relationship management, right? When the front end of the business is just so fast, and things can fall in the back end. I think it's the same when a business grows fast, collaboration can really become chaotic. What's the collaboration gap you see when systems aren't designed first? Does it have to be that way, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think when it's going so quick, people get excited, and then they're making decisions quickly, and that may not be what is in alignment. It might be for an alignment for that individual, but if they are not slowing down enough to have the conversations and making sure they have checks and balances and accountability, you might go so far off of what the original mission was that you don't even realize. And it's very hard to get back. Also, just that accountability. If you don't already have some of that accountability mapped in place, it can cause a lot of friction, but also could be very toxic. And then it's hard to get back to. It's very exciting when you have a collaboration like, oh my gosh, I like you like me, like, yes, let's do this. We have a great vision. We're going to do it. And we skip so much of, but what happens if it doesn't? That's not a fun conversation. You're like, man, are you a buzzkill? Like, come on. Like, we're hyping here. We're riffing here on what's going to come next. And then you're going to have to come in and be like, but what happens if you don't show up? You're like, why are you judging me like that? Why do you think I'm not going to show up? Like, no, in business partnership, we have to have these conversations in the beginning. It's not a self-judgment. It's not a judgment on somebody else. This is what creates a psychologically safe container for people to thrive at all aspects. I also have a capacity quiz that you can do before you partner with somebody. I have so many people like, I want to collaborate with you. And then I start to ask about their lifestyle. This is not a judgment on lifestyle. This is, do you have capacity to meet? This is when we meet. Can you meet in this time? Well, no, but I really want to be in it. Like, so we have to adjust the entire team to adjust to that. You may have all the other things, but if you don't have capacity to show up in time, you may not be the right fit right now. And it's okay when you actually have all that clarity. It makes it not about personal, more about what is true with all the facts and data before you move forward.
That is a very good point as well, right? Capacity, because we get indeed so excited. And one thing that comes in is really the emotional. We are just like, we are doing things through emotion of whom we like, what we want to do, without being more strategic and really like, hey, let's talk now the ugly, nitty gritty of this partnership or this collaboration. That will be much better. And I think it takes a little bit of that preparedness and a little bit of maturity, I think, to be able to have that conversation. And like what you've said, it's experience. We've been to experience, like, I've never thought I'll be treated this way, because I had that one. Like, I thought we're adult individuals whom we can talk and sit down if something happens, but then circumstance happen, sometimes emotion again goes into that, and that's where sour relationship ends up. I mean, it's not just even professional, personal, marriage, a lot of things, right? It's a collaboration. It's a whole dynamics of that type of relationship. Now, let me go back as well, right? With ownership as well. What do you think about with IP? When two people, businesses are doing strategic partnership or collaboration, there are proprietary, information that are put in the table. Like, it's really there, right? How do you manage and navigate that one besides being it in a contract or being in a paper agreement?
Yeah, I mean, it's open conversation. Who owns what? I recently shifted from a partnership, and I wrote out as we were transitioning to a board from, it was a partnership before, we moved to a board, and we had a clear delineation. What's moving forward? What is yours, Holly, and what is the board? What is the organization's IP? And had a clear contract of, this is what I own, this is what moves forward, gets to continue with the organization. And it was written down, not necessarily like legal, but it was a written document. We didn't necessarily have to bring legal into it, but it's a clear, do you approve? Do we approve? Or do we understand it? Have we written it out where, if I communicate it to you verbally, people learn things or they hear things differently, to have to go back to and go, this is what we wrote, will really save your behind in so many ways. And it's a pain. I don't love it. I'm like, really? We should just do it. No, every time that I have not done that, it has burned me. And so that's kind of that tale of, don't do what I did, and that's why I'm sharing it, is so we can learn to do that and be self-advocates in that way. Like, no, it's really important. Before we move forward, we really need this clarity, and it protects all of us involved. But having, IP attorneys, patent attorneys, if it's really intricate, it is important to get that as well. And some of them do packages where they're like, okay, we can do this package. And those are things you have to consider financially in a collaboration as well.
And yeah, that is so true. And I think I heard this one from an amazing, trademark lawyer that I have, that putting things whether it's legal or anything, just in place, right, that both of you have signed and agreed is actually a protection. It's like a self-care,
Yes.
right? Because a self-care of your own sanity to make sure that things are moving forward. Now, right now we're talking about either an individual or just maybe smaller scale as well, but now you're actually focusing more on more corporate and businesses. Tell us a little bit about that dynamics because that's going to be having now multiple people involved into that collaboration, multiple departments involved, different personalities. So tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize collaboration is in every aspect of business, whether you're hiring people, doing staff, from the top down to the bottom. And collaboration is not just human to human. Collaboration is to systems as well. We're in the age of AI, and do we integrate these systems in or not? Those are part of collaboration. Can the human collaborate with the systems that we put them into? So I created a diagnostic tool to help businesses to uncover. From the past, people would say, okay, I have this skill set. I can come and help your problem. I'll uncover the problem and I will help with this triage of the problem. But what happens is if you come in and just fix leadership, maybe it's a person that's in management and they're struggling with their team, but it's really a system issue that is broken, you can heal that part of it or fix it or create solution around it. But if down the lane is broken still, it didn't solve the problem. So my diagnostic tool will actually look from the bird's eye view. Is it an operational system? Is it a people team system? Or is it a team to team, meaning they cross collaborate? Or is it an individual that actually needs to understand it? And all things are true and all things are important, but most people only look at one of those three lanes, not the whole thing to go, what parts? And all parts might need help. You just have to figure out where is it, where's the heaviest lift? And if you solve the one at the top and move down, you actually may create more solutions that you don't need to fix the bottom line because the top is what needed fixed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Now, in collaboration, right? So whether it's a founder or whether it's the business owner or whether it's a staff to staff or anyway, in that scenario, right? How does a founder or someone's identity and security show up in a way that they collaborate?
I think that a lot of founders, some depends on the size of what they're creating. They've done it so much on their own. They've done grassroots. They've done bootstrapping, blood, sweat, and tears. And then sometimes it's hard to release and delegate even and go, yes, I need help, but like, I'm going to give you this, so I'm going to take it away. I'm going to give you this, I'm going to take it away. Like, and then there are people that you hire to go, actually, I know the way to do this. You have to be open to new ideas and create safeguards around that and go, okay, maybe we can try it for this amount of time and implement some of these strategies. But if you're at a scaling, and this is what happens a lot with founders and small business owners that are in that place of that growth gap that you talk about, is that scaling part of going, okay, I know I need help. I don't necessarily know what that looks like. And there's skill gaps within that. You were a founder. You didn't know how to delegate or you're learning how to delegate. But when you're scaling, you have to learn different systems to use. Like you've outgrown some of your computing systems or your CRM systems, and you've got to integrate new systems that worked for one or two people on your team. Now you have 10 to 20 people on your team. You have to integrate different programs in order to do that. But that means you also have to learn different skills unless you're completely outsourcing that in a different way. And even if you outsource it, you still have to be knowledgeable about what is it that is happening around you and how those all work together.
Yeah, it's really just that, everything from what you've said, just diagnosing it from the very beginning so that you're able to aware what are the things that are not working anymore so that you can properly either delegate and also collaborate with people who are willing to help you out. Because I think that's the one thing, the core thing, right? For me, when I ask, like, for example, the program, the event that we're trying to do for a space that we can create for those who are founders who are now in their next level in their business, right? Hitting their first million, the next million in their business, is that it was really, collaborating and really talking things out, like, okay, how will this work and everything, and just being able to prepare on things that is worth implementing. I think that's where I'm getting as well, right? So sometimes it just can be overwhelming, because sometimes like I know you, for example, we've put things in place, all right, we've talked about it. Halfway, have you ever experienced that one, like halfway of it, like, oh, this is not working?
Oh yeah.
What are like some of the things that you have and lessons maybe you have learned as well?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, when it becomes evident, is when we realize that what we started off on is no longer in alignment, and so that's not we can remove the person from that. Meaning, like that's not a personal issue. It's just we have different goals at this point. And so
Yes.
if you can really look back and go, okay, we started on this path. This is what the goal was, and maybe there was a misunderstanding what the goal was in the first place. You might, I say red. Red might mean something different to you, right? So that's why collaboration in the terminology and understanding the same terms, making sure that you're aligned on that. And if not, then you can just say that we are no longer aligned. What do we need to disconnect from this? What IP are you going to take? What am I going to take? How do we do this? Or does it make sense for me to exit? We bring somebody else on. You need to have those open conversations. And one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about this is creating psychologically safe environments for us all to have candor, to have crucial conversations around those topics all the way down the structure. At any point, there's a friction point. And oftentimes when you're working with other collaborating partners that have a different collaboration style, you will have friction and conflict. And conflict and friction is not necessarily bad. A lot of people are people pleasers and that I don't want friction, but friction and conflict, if done correctly, can actually help you scale beyond what is your comfort zone. So don't be scared of that and go, oh, it's a massive failure. This isn't working. That actually might be right at the point where you're going to have massive growth. It just means you have to up-level your own collaboration skills to be around that. And that's where collab skills come from as well. It's an ever-evolving of leveling up. If you've never done it, you are going to have a lot of growth pains through it.
And it's really also from that, I kind of just remember the maturity of each individual going into a collaboration. It's just like in relationship as well, right?
Yes.
It's just like for me, I kind of always mention and how, young people are sometimes like, give yourself some time, enjoy everything before you go into the deep dive of, committing full time. But I think it's also really that, having that maturity and being ready. Of course, like what we said, every person has a different personality, how every people kind of adapt differently. But I always just remember this one, I was in a corporate world and it's always operations, and I was in the sales and marketing. And you know how sales and marketing, they promise all the world so that just to close a deal, and you have an operation. No, this will not happen. You are just, shooting yourself to the foot. This cannot be. And then we argue and argue and argue. But at the end of the day, come on, let's have coffee. Just I think that type, and I love that one because I'm also that person is kind of just like, no, that doesn't work, like straightforward. But sometimes I kind of navigate with that one as well. So sometimes it can really be hard because of the different personalities that we all have. And I think going into what you've mentioned is that the emotional aspect, it's nothing personal, but it's just the reality of where we're currently at right now.
Yes.
Is the things that we need to address in the hopes that we are going to do things professionally on how we started things professionally. I think that's one thing that also people forget. You know how like we've been friends, we've been friends or we've been colleague or anything when we started this. What happened now? I think that's just the way things are, but I don't accept that to be. Hopefully like it's going to be still like, separating things in a amicable way. I think is the main goal as well when it comes to collaboration. How hard it is to really, you're somebody who's coming in right now in big companies and really looking into, right, the bits and pieces and process that they are doing. How will one be like ready to like, oh no, she's looking at how I do my work. How do I collaborate with one department? Like, what do you think about if someone is like feeling that way?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's an outsider coming into your company, you're going to feel insecure because it comes down to trust. Trust is a currency. And really, all of the collab currencies that I talked about, trust is the exchange rate. If you don't have trust, you're not going to really move the needle. So you have to create psychologically safe environments for people to have candor, crucial conversations, not be punished for their honest feedback. But people are coming in with their own lived experiences and their own trauma and their own whatever that is, and just being cognizant of that. You don't have to come in a bull in a china shop. You can really just assess what's happening right now. I'm here to help in that capacity. I'm not here to take your job. I'm not here to but we may create some friction, and that might happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's bad, because what is for the collective good. And if you can create more of those environments and prove some of those elements to be true, from like an executive that would hire me, I can find gaps that are not on their P&L that show a margin change on their profit line based on how efficient things are. But it doesn't mean that it's a lack of the people in it, of cognizant of like how they show up, what their feelings or emotions. It's not and I think that's where a lot of consultants have gotten a bad rap. They come and go, blanket statement, this is where you need to cut the line. We don't care who the people are or what that is. We can, because I get to look at it from a holistic viewpoint, we might actually get to be able to keep the same people, work more efficiently, more effectively, and also help you make a profit. They're not mutually exclusive that somebody comes in and means that we have to remove people. It may be that they need collaboration skills, they need self-awareness, or they just need the system that supports their decisions. There's lots of different facets to it. And I think that's the benefit of collaborative intelligence, Collab Intel, my company, is I'm not coming in looking at one angle. We're looking at the whole picture.
I love that one. And also one point that you really emphasized or kind of just mentioned as well is the trauma that people has when it comes to collaboration, relationship, engagement. And that's how hard is that to navigate that this is a safe space?
Yeah, I mean, it takes time. I mean, it's not 100%. I mean, and some people you'll never gain their trust because of their own past experience. But we do our best to be able to look at and what that is. So first is just what are your collab styles? Like once people have some self-awareness about themselves, they're more open to engage in, hey, you're right, this is an area that I could work on. Okay, then let's work on those collaboration skills. So when these obstacles come up or when these conflicts or friction come up, you know how to better navigate that. And it's not personal. It's more about how you perceive the world and how do we navigate that. Now, there will be people that are just inherently lazy and not accountable. And you have to have healthy boundaries around that as well. So it's not a one size fits all in that. And that's the beautiful gift of that is we have to look at all the different facets like a diamond, turning it around. There's different ways to look at it.
So you've mentioned something that there are really just sometimes, right? People are just not doing their job. They're not contributing to what was agreed on. But for them, they don't see it that way. How does one kind of address it if we're in a, you're there in the corporate, you're kind of analyzing everything within the organization and you kind of see, after talking and listening and kind of just evaluating that it's really a true observation. And that decision makes sense to just part ways or move forward. But what are your thoughts on that one? On the other side, right, of the coin that, no, I'm here. I'm doing what I need to be doing.
Yeah. Facts and data. So you try to take the emotion out of it and go, did we have the agreement up front? What's expected? What are those roles? Was I clear about what the role is? Maybe there's lack of clarity around it. Maybe they're not just trying to be apathetic or defiant. You really have to look at that first. Like what is the clear line there? Do they have all the resources they need to accomplish the goal that I shared for them? Do they actually truly have the capacity for that? So I have a kind of a fun laundry story when it comes to that. If you think of doing your laundry, there's a system, right? You take the laundry, you put it in the washing machine, then you move it to the dryer, and then from that, you fold the clothes. And you think, okay, done, laundry done. Well, no, the laundry has to go somewhere, right? Well, for my husband, he has a system. He has just like 2 weeks worth of clothes. You do the laundry, it goes back into the same spot, nice and cozy, very easy to put away. My son, when he's in a size change, then we might have to go, okay, what sizes work, what don't? We have to transfer. We got to figure out what to do with those clothes. So it might take a few more decisions to make that happen. Well, me, I love clothes. So I am at capacity. My drawers are stuffed. My closet's stuffed. I've moved into the storage, but I'm truly at capacity. But you can think of that from an organization level. There could be parts of their system that are like super easy, and if you're coming from a department where you're like, this is flowing well, but you're the person that catches all the things at the bottom and you're drowning, maybe it's a capacity issue, not because they weren't able to do it, but because the system didn't hold all the things that are coming their way. So let's say if you're in marketing and you're passing it off to another team, and that team delayed on their results to you, and now you only have 30 minutes to complete something that you should have had 2 weeks on. Is that really that person's fault that that didn't get delivered on the very, very end? No, there's other things that we need to consider.
Yeah, that's very so. I kind of relate with that one because especially with one side of the business, it comes to producing, project management, and pipeline is coming in and coming in and coming in, and then you kind of forgot the back end is already backlog, and now somebody is like chaotic. Now the collaboration and somebody saying someone is not doing this because of this, or but you've asked this, have you planned this, have we like all of these things, and sometimes as a leader we're like the referee of each of this department collaborating. And I think it's also the matter of now asking the right question in order to identify what was a real bottleneck when it comes to the collaboration.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really hard. So yeah, I think it's also just like a reminder as well for everyone who is, whether it's because we are all collaborating. No matter, we're just using it in a more business scenarios, but we are really collaborating, and it's really how mature we are and really addressing all of these things to make sure that, we are aligning. So if collaboration is a mirror, what does it usually reveal about leadership readiness?
Well, collaboration or lack of collaboration can amplify dysfunction or accelerate success. If you can really learn how to use the tools of collaboration and the skill, I think it's a skill, and most people don't think about that, or they might think of it as a soft skill, like, oh, that's nice to have.
Yeah.
Like, it's a part of every element of your business, whether you like it or not. So once you understand the structure and how it navigates, you can move through that much quicker. And so, what was the question? I think I missed. I don't know if I answered what you exactly asked me, but.
Yeah, it's if you want to, we can we can skip or we can do it. Yeah, it's just
Oh,
basic.
the mirror.
Yeah, the mirror. Yeah, yeah. Because it really does reveal, right? Because if you are not ready, it will be chaotic, or you will not be responsive.
Yeah.
Or you're just gonna nope. I'm not. Nope. My way is my way. Right? Nope, I'm doing this my way because you are not ready to have somebody else come in and nitty picky all of the things that you have been doing. And that's hard. That's really hard in the business setting, or especially if you're the CEO, you're a top gun in the company and kind of like what's going on with everything, right? Now, as you help a lot of businesses, right? At what point of their organization do they say, I need Holly?
I'm hoping at the beginning, and the reason why, so more, not meaning the beginning, so when they're going to scale, or if they're having turnover that's coming up, or they're realizing that the things that used to go pretty quickly are now taking a lot longer. Maybe senior leadership has to step in and work with maybe junior associates. I work a lot with companies that have billable hours because every month, every quarter, you look and see what's happening to our bottom line and our billable hours. And it can change with scope creep, with rework, with bringing senior leadership in. So if you're seeing some of these happening, there is a problem with collaboration, and I can come in and look at what that is. Before you bring in another, hot topic and go, that's the thing that's going to solve it, you may actually be doing more damage than good if you don't have a full assessment of what's going on.
So as businesses, right now, because with everything, with technology, system, we talk about this, right? And with AI integrating things, that's a collaboration, just what you said,
Absolutely.
Human and machine, right? As businesses move forward towards ecosystem instead of silos, what will separate a collaborative leader from those who get left behind?
Oh, I mean, they just need to know this skill. They've got to really hone in. What is my collaboration style? What are my weaknesses? How do I build that skill and or bring other people that have that skill? You really have to look at, who am I bringing with me? And it's not always the person that looks like me. Who am I bringing with me? What can they contribute to it? And being really selective too on who those are and how that navigates. But you really have to be educated on, what does collaboration actually mean? Hold people accountable, be willing to make agreements up front, and be willing to make adjustments. You also have to be adaptable. If you're not adaptable in collaboration, things can change. And even have to get out of some of that hierarchy mentality that maybe there's somebody that doesn't have the same title as you in level, but they could contribute in a way that is going to be super helpful to the collaboration, moving some of that ego out of it to really look at they can provide value in here. I don't have to have the whole say on it. So giving decision-making capabilities to certain people, if you have clear guidelines, can really expand your collaboration instead of going, I'm going to collaborate, but I'm going to hold all the cards. That's not really collaboration. You have to look at it from different vantage points.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When I started to actually really tell even contractors in my company that, hey, this is a decision that you can do. Because one of the things that if you're not clear of this, they'll say, key point that you're not explaining it correctly or allowing them, but you thought you are, is that, oh, I never thought I could do that. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can move forward. That's when your sign as a leader, oh, I was not clear.
Right.
I was not. And, taking a lot of ownership in every moving part is really exhausting.
It can be.
Like, oh, can you just think about this? Like, can you just think? And that's also a learning point for me, like a learning part for me that I have to, hey, to be conscious. Is this something I want to delegate? I want something full authority. You go ahead and whatever that is, you just need to be aware and be responsible and really like, hey, own this one.
Yes.
Or am I going to still own it as a leader, right? Because sometimes I really end up apologizing to clients like, oh, sorry, I've already trained my team about this, but looks like they're smaller. Let me put myself again. But that is a checkpoint for me. That, okay, where we are at, why was there a disconnect? Why do I have to apologize?
Yes.
Did I miss something, right? So yeah, collaboration is very important. Collaboration is a word that you use within, different department, making sure it's aligned, but it's really just how you're able to free yourself up as a leader, as a boss, as a CEO, or whatever your position is in a business setting as well. So Holly, we've had a lot, good conversation here, good
Yes.
conversation, because I think this is even a collaborative way.
Yes, absolutely.
Our time, our expertise as well. So if you could give founders one non-negotiable rule for collaboration in this year, what would it be and why?
I think you can't be a good collaborator if you don't understand yourself. It comes to you first.
Yeah.
And so the starting point for anybody I work with is understanding what your collaboration style is. And I have a quiz that helps you figure that out so you don't have to think too hard and you get results on that. And then really look at that and really reflect on that of who am I showing up to be? Is that who I want to be? And if not, what skills can I increase to be able to be the leader that I want to be? So it's not a shame thing, and there's not a good, better, best in that way of a style. It's awareness and where you get to grow. So it starts with self-ownership, and then from that trickles down. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see that people are missing is they want to blame it on somebody else when they're not really looking at their own self-ownership of that.
That's that mirror, right? That
Yes.
mirror of ownership. And that's very important because the more you get into, especially if you have a mindset of like, I want to go to the next level, I want to bring in the best people that I can collaborate with because I'm on the next path to success. It's really knowing that at times it's us who's caused the bottleneck. It's us who's really having a problem. And it's okay to say that I am the problem.
Yeah.
So that you, Holly, can say, well, I was observing it. I was here to help you, but, I just don't, all of these things. So it's really, really important. Well, this conversation I think is very important for anyone who's planning to scale their business. They would love to make sure that all of their leaders are talking to each other, because the best thing that you can do for your business is to really have everyone having the same vision, having the same language, having the same idea. Because when you do that, you're all like, let's go. Let's do this one, right? So is there anything you would like to invite as well? I know some will be listening over the podcast and audio as well as YouTube and our Instagram. Anything you would like to invite our audience and listeners?
Yeah, if you want to go to thecollabcode.com, you can download the free quiz right now and do your collab styles and understand that and encourage your team to do that. Do a team building exercise and have that conversation. You get a PDF of all the different styles. If you uncover that your teammates are all different styles, learn about them too. It'll help you with your communication, how you show up, and that's how you build trust. People build trust by feeling seen, heard, respected, included. That's where you start. It's with you, and that trickles down.
That's perfect. Thank you so much,
Thank
Holly.
you. Appreciate it.